night sky above the veil of cinders looked as if someone had slit velvet with 1,000 silver knives. Meteors streaked from every compass point, burning brief hieroglyphs into the dark. So many and so constant that the mind soon forgot what silence felt like. Villagers from the lowlands called it a curse, scholars called it a rift in the firmament, but the oldest songs spoke of a bargain struck before memory. As long as hopes were bartered honestly, the stars would keep falling so that the earth never forgot the heavens. Aurea had heard every version of the tale, yet tonight she walked the lantern-lit path alone, burdened by a secret too dangerous to keep. Her sister Ursel was dying, bound to her bed by an illness physicians could not name, and Aurea had nothing left to offer except the truth she had vowed never to tell. The legend said the Willow of Whispers, rooted at the center of the veil, would trade salvation in the form of dreams, but only for a secret that carried the weight of a life. People muttered about prices too dear to imagine, but desperation has a voice far louder than caution. She crested the final ridge after midnight. All at once, the meteors flooded her peripheral vision, a slow torrent of sparks like molten rain that never struck the ground. Their light shone upon a solitary willow near the river's dark ribbon. Its branches so long and fine, they brushed both sky and water with equal ease. Even from afar, Aurea felt the air shift, as if the tree exhaled in time with her heartbeat. She stepped forward, and the soil itself seemed to pulse almost, she thought, like a hushed beckoning. Close now, she saw silver threads woven through the bark, glimmering veins that pulsed in cadence with each new streak overhead. A half-circle of stones formed a threshold, every surface carved with names. Some were fresh, letters still sharp. Others were worn to dim hollows. She knelt at the outermost stone, the one everyone was taught to bow before, and pressed her forehead to its cold face. "Willow of Whispers," she said, reciting the invocation. "I come with what is mine. May you judge it worthy." The branches rattled, though no wind blew. A shimmer descended, as if moonlight briefly took human shape. Then a voice emerged from the hush. Between meteors, neither nor nor female, not old or young, but containing the steadiness of ice on a river. "Speak what you seek." "My sister's life," Aurea answered. "She has seen only 17 summers. Let her see more." The voice sighed, redistributed its echo. "And what secret do you bring, Aurea of Harleth's Rest?" She swallowed. All her travels, the bribes paid at border posts, the rumors chased through marketplaces, every step had been a rehearsal for this confession. "I have known who set the mill ablaze 5 winters ago. I watched him pour the oil. I let an innocent man take blame. Silence followed, so absolute that even the sky's endless hissing felt remote. The willow's branches parted, revealing a narrow aisle into the curtain of leaves. With legs suddenly liquid, Aurea ventured through the gap. The foliage closed behind, cocooning her in a dim green world, lit only by the starlight that seeped through ragged holes above. At the trunk's base, she found an aperture big enough to crawl through. 3 deep breaths steadied her. Then she entered. Inside, the tree opened into a chamber neither wholly wood nor wholly air. Striations of living bark formed wavering columns. Between them hung filaments of light, like delicate harp strings, strummed by the passage of time itself. At the center rested a shallow pool, mirror-smoothed, containing the reflection of a sky far brighter than the one outside. The voice reformed, thicker now, as if it borrowed timbre from the hidden stars. "You offer guilt, wrapped in silence. Why kept so long?" "The miller, Farlin," Aurea whispered. "He was father to Ursel's closest friend. If I revealed the truth, his grief might have drowned them both. And the one who burned the mill, he is kin to me, bound by blood I cannot sever." The air smelled of cut cedar for an instant. "Your reason does not absolve your silence." "I know." She touched the pool's surface. Concentric rings split her reflection into dozens of faces. I only ask to exchange my secret for Irsel's dream of life. A single droplet rose from the water and hovered above her palm. It swelled, spinning until it became translucent, containing a vivid scene. Irsel laughing in a field of yellow swallowtail flowers, sunlight strong on her cheeks. Oria's heart clenched. The voice reverberated. This is the dream she yearns for. I can bestow it. But dreams are living entities. They must be nourished by possibilities drawn from another mind. Your secret will feed her dream for 1 year and a day. After that, if the secret remains unspoken, the dream will wither. Oria hadn't expected conditions. I must tell it to someone. You must let light find it. Secrets do not sicken in darkness. They grow fat and devour hope. Release it, and Irsel's dream becomes her own forever. Her stomach twisted. To expose her cousin Lior, to unearth Farland's grief, to fracture her family, the cost seemed impossible. Yet she had come too far to balk. I accept. Branches rustled overhead. A root curled from under the pool, shaped like a quill. It pricked Oria's left thumb, drew blood, and let a single drop fall into the dream orb, which brightened until it was near blinding. The orb shrank then, compressing into a sliver of silver bark, which fused into Oria's thumbprint like an embedded jewel. "It is done," said the voice. "Carry her dream home, but heed the second part of the bargain. You may trade dreams for secrets no more than thrice in a life. Should you attempt a fourth, the Willow will claim your nights forever." "I understand." The chamber brightened. She found herself once again between the trailing leaves and the woven light. She slipped through the entrance curtain and stepped outside. It was dawn's fragile hour. The meteors still fell, but less fiercely, as though even the sky needed a moment to breathe. On the journey back, Oria met a pilgrim climbing the opposite way, a small man with a flute case. He touched 2 fingers to his brow in greeting. "Did the Willow treat you kindly?" "It did, as the stories promise," she replied. He exhaled. "I go to forget a dream, not to gain one. May your path be easier than mine." She watched him shrink against the horizon, wondering what kind of sorrow led one to trade in reverse. Then she pushed southward, toward home. Ursel's fever broke the night Uria returned. By morning, color bloomed in her cheeks, and she woke exclaiming that she had floated through a field of living gold, monarch butterflies spinning around her like sparks. She described every detail of the Swallowtail meadow until Oria's eyes stung. The physician called it a miraculous recovery. Neighbors brought soups, salves, and small terracotta birds meant to guard wellness. Some whispered that Ursel's survival confirmed rumors of star magic in Oria's bloodline. But Oria neither confirmed nor denied anything. She just held her sister's hand and wept thanks into the bandages. Days slipped into weeks. Summer deepened, cherries and plums fattening until branches bent. Isel grew strong enough to walk the orchard without her cane, and Oria thought perhaps that single drop of blood had bought not merely time, but lasting bliss. Then Deepits began to arrive. First came nightmares. Oria dreamed of a face she loved, but drawn in cinders, the contours crumbling when touched. She woke tasting smoke. Next she noticed small fractures in daily life. Farlin no longer visited, though he used to tell Ursel stories every week. Her aunt Kylera looked upon Oria with sudden wariness, as if glimpsing something unfamiliar at the edges of her niece's eyes. Gossip spread that the mill blaze might not have been an accident. Over supper, Ursel said quietly, "Some folks think Lear was involved." Oria's cup stalled halfway to her lips. "Why would they say that?" Ursel shrugged, though her gaze lingered. Perhaps because someone finally told the truth. Oria retreated to the orchard, leaned against a pear trunk, and tried to still her racing pulse. She had spoken to no one. She had sworn to wait until she understood how to do least harm. Could the willow itself be loosening the knot? The legend warned of hungry dreams, fed by secrets. Perhaps the dream sought more sustenance. A week later, Lior arrived, boots muddy, eyes red. "Cousin," he pleaded in the dooryard, "tell me you didn't." "They come tomorrow to question me. Mother's broken a vase. Father won't speak." Lior swallowed guilt so thick it scraped her throat. "I said nothing." "But someone did, and they name you as witness." He shook his head. "I was 16 and half mad from Mother's death. I barely remember lighting the oil." Tears slipped past his lashes. "If I'd known Farland's daughter was inside." Aurea felt the dream's silver splinter pulse beneath her thumb. Each heartbeat deepened its glow until her skin became almost translucent, the veins around it webbed like lightning. She realized the willow's magic was a tide, and she had been foolish to think herself on a distant shore. The tide had merely been turning. That night, beneath the unending meteor shower, Aurea led Lior to the orchard and showed him the light in her thumb. She confessed everything, her silence, the bargain, the deadline. He listened with the stillness of a man watching the gallows being built in real time. "What happens after a year and a day?" he asked. "If I still haven't given the secret to the world, Ursul's dream decays. Her body may follow. Then choose." He drew a shaky breath. "Keep her alive or save me." The words were simple, but each held the weight of a continent. Aurea's mind replayed Issel's laughter in the flower field, then pictured her cousin sobbing in darkness. The meteors kept falling, as impartial as arrow shafts loosed by gods who no longer cared. Soon villagers began laying evidence before the elders, scorched boots found months ago, testimonies of heated arguments at the tavern. Lior couldn't sleep, neither could Aurea. The secret was no longer a stone in her pocket. It was a wheel beneath her ribs, grinding bone to dust. Yet still she hesitated, because love, like iron, bends only so far before it snaps. On the 269th sunset since the bargain, Ursul collapsed in the garden. Fever returned, vicious as a storm long denied landfall. The physician marveled at the relapse, but had no explanation. Aurea sat by the bedside through the night as Ursul muttered about meadows dying, flowers shriveling into ash. By dawn, Aurea knew what she would do. She bathed Ursul, braided her hair, and kissed her sleeping brow. Then she mounted her mule and rode north to Farland's rebuilding site. The new mill stood half-framed, its beams smelling of fresh pine. Workers paused at her arrival. Aurea called for Farland, and when he emerged, she bowed lower than dignity allowed, tears dropping onto the sawdust beneath her boots. "I carry a secret that belongs to you," she said, voice already raw. "Let me trade it for forgiveness, if you can spare it." Then, in ringing daylight, she told the tale. How Lior burned the mill, how she watched, how fear chained her tongue. Each sentence peeled skin from her soul, yet with each one the silver on her thumb grew fainter, until at the final admission it vanished entirely. Farland's eyes were flint, silence stretched, 10, 15 heartbeats. When he spoke, his voice cracked. "The law will take him. And your silence? Do you know what that cost?" "Everything," she answered. He stared another long moment, then nodded as if acknowledging a debt that would never quite settle. "Go to your sister. I have no more words." Aurea stumbled away, the road listing beneath her. But a strange thing happened as she rode. For the first time since childhood, the meteor shower looked less like a wound and more like music, long white notes sliding through black. She wondered whether the sky felt lighter now that one more secret had flown upward to join them. At home, Ursul woke within the hour. Fever cooled. She reached for Aurea's thumb, tracing the spot where Silver used to reside. "It's gone," she whispered. "The dream is yours now," Aurea said. She began to cry then, not from sorrow or relief, but from a sensation broader than either, the relief of a soul dislocated back into its socket. 3 days later, the village council, armed with Farland's testimony, sent envoys for Lior. Oria stood with him before the elders. He insisted on equal blame. The council, bound by law, sentenced Lior to 5 years of service rebuilding every structure damaged by fire across the county. They ordered Oria to teach apprentices in the newly rebuilt mill, lending her knowledge of agriculture so that grain might flow faster, cheaper, freeing coins for families still burdened by loss. The punishment felt both exacting and fair, honing guilt into usefulness rather than leaving it to rust in a cell. Seasons wheeled. Leah worked from dawn to moonrise, muscles knotting under scarred skin. Oria coached mill boys until her throat gave out each evening, then returned home to Ursel, who painted swallowtail meadows on every wall of their cottage. The dream within her bloomed into skill for colours she had never studied, strokes alive with motion. Travellers purchased the paintings, carrying fragments of gold fields far beyond the Vale. One winter midnight, after Lior's 2nd year of labour, Oria trekked once more to the Vale of Cinders, this time without crisis. She stood outside the circle of stones, regarding the willow while meteors stitched silver sutures across the cold sky. "I kept the bargain," she said quietly. Branches swayed, snowdust tumbling. The familiar voice hovered between hush and echo. "And has your life unknotted?" "Not entirely," she exhaled steam, "but it has grown honest, and that, perhaps, is the closest anyone gets to peace." A low chuckle rippled through bark. "You have learned the true price. Dreams cannot survive on borrowed blood. They need the oxygen of confession." She felt lighter hearing it aloud. "I have another secret," she admitted, though perhaps secret is no longer the right word. "I do not know what to do with the love I still carry for the cousin who burned a house around a child he never saw." The willow remained silent for so long she feared the audience had ended. Then, "Love is not coin for my commerce. Keep it, spend it, burn it in your own hearth. But remember, some fires cleanse, some consume. Learn which is which." She smiled, accepting that the lesson exceeded any bargain. Turning, she walked away while meteors continued their ceaseless descent, bright seeds falling into soil that still remembered all names ever spoken into its dust. Back in the village, spring crept over shingles and sills. Ilzel's paintings were now prized across 3 provinces, and she planned an exhibit beneath the open sky of the Vale so that her golden fields might mirror the falling stars. Lior, his sentence nearly served, came every evening to rest aching hands on the railing and watch sparrows swirl through orchard branches newly in bloom. On one such evening, Oria joined him. "Almost finished," she observed. He nodded, eyes fixed on the horizon. "I will never finish making amends. Not truly." "Maybe," she allowed, "but beginnings matter too." He met her gaze. "You should hate me. Some days I manage to hate myself." "Hate," she said softly, "is another form of burning. The willow warned me about choosing my fires." She reached to clasp his wrist, feeling rough calluses against her thumb. "Help Ursel set up her exhibit. Let people see what survives when no one hides the truth." He gave a ragged laugh. "That I can do." That summer, under the perpetual meteor shower that locals no longer called a curse, Ursel's meadow paintings lined the Vale of Cinders. Visitors stood among them while actual swallowtails fluttered above, apparently coaxed by the colours. Lior poured cider and told those who asked that forgiveness is not a single act, but a long road one chooses daily. Oria walked the rows carrying a lantern. Sometimes she paused to watch the meteors reflect in wet paint, like memories tumbling forward into new frames. What no one else saw was the faint shimmer at her heel each time she moved, as though the earth itself thanked her for secrets surrendered. She understood now. The willow was not a dealer in miracles, so much as a gardener of balances. It guided people to bury what needed to rot, to let new roots drink from the compost of confessed darkness. Dreams once hungry became fruit. Secrets once fatal became nutrient. As the last guests drifted off, Aurea stood alone among canvases. Meteors stitched fresh signatures above. She closed her eyes and listened. In the hush, a voice like distant rain whispered, not asking for barter this time, but offering benediction. "Live open," it murmured. "Live bright." She raised her face to the sky, let silver light wash her lids, and breathed the taste of fallen starlight into lungs finally clear of smoke.